got one idea we were just talking about. Oh, we're live. Shh, we're live.
Sorry.
You know, sometimes they talk about, great comedians talk about like bombing on purpose at the beginning of an act, try to win the crowd back. And that's even a little self-destructive for me, and that is saying something. But I feel compelled to present something to our audience here now that isn't going to like it. They're not going to like the stance I'm taking, but I need to do it to be true. Joe Burrow, I get it. I really do. Did he show up looking like mini M&Ms? Yeah, of course. I mean, yes, the Slim Shady, the Stan references that show up when you are arriving to training camp, no longer with the long flowing locks you had been boasting, which frankly, also, I get it. But you show up with the bleach blonde buzz cut. There are going to be repercussions for that. But I respect it, Joe Burrow. I really do. I don't have a super long list of other things that I can say that about Joe Burrow with. But listen, when you share a network with Kent Swanson, you got to give the guy credit where you can.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
Actually say several nice things about Joe Burrow, but I'm not going to right now because it's only Weird Games here on KC Sports Network. Joshua Brisco and Seth Keysor with you for the time being. Nate Taylor en route on his way back from St. Joseph, Missouri. So we'll have Nate rejoin the festivities momentarily. Seth, what's the most dramatic haircut change you've ever had? I'll go through a list of my crimes, and then we can talk about a few of the things we've seen from St. Joe so far.
Well, I mean, I haven't had a dramatic haircut change in probably about 15 years. Like, you know, so I'll
40th
skip
birthday. Sorry.
So what I do now, and people have noticed this, I mean, this is not really a haircut. I buzz my hair. That's what I do.
You
and
cut
when
your
it gets
hair.
well, yeah, I buzz my hair out, but I don't like it like it's styled at all. Eventually, when it gets a little bit longer than this, I'll buzz it again. Why? Because it's easy and it's cheaper. I did the math actually, and I was explaining to Jazz how much money I'd saved our family in haircuts over the years. I'm pretty sure it was in the middle of a fight, but I mean, who knows? Who knows the things that I say during the middle of an argument? No, but the most extreme hair change that I ever had, because I found a style that worked for me when I went from the bowl cut to the short hair, but a little longer up top and gelled, because, you know, gelling was way more of a thing then. And
get some LA looks in there. Absolutely.
Oh, man. I was LA looks for only about a month, and then I discovered Crew. And it was a little bougie, but worth the money because it made my hair less like crunchy.
Yeah, it made you less of a threat to headbutt someone to death.
Yeah.
You could just hedgehog yourself into somebody.
And also, I mean, girls just always thought it was the funniest thing. And you're like, it was funny the first 100 times someone did that. 101 on it.
You just had a mob of girls your age desperate to touch your hair and you shooed them away?
Well, it wasn't. Yeah, sure. Let's describe it that way. Why not?
I was trying to give you credit.
I had a number of female acquaintances that liked to mess with my hair.
Bully you.
Yeah. However, whatever else that led to or meant about me as a guy at the time, I'll let you guys speculate. Why don't you say, "Oh man, that's Seth. He was irresistible." I mean, I was a lot more handsome back then. But that's because I've gained the weight of a large toddler or small child since then. So
you've also had a lot of children. I mean, only one child worth still feels like kind of a win. I don't know. That's above my pay grade. You were like Velcro to those girls, but it was because your hair kept getting intertwined with their hair, and at that point it was this is
occasionally one of the points would actually, kill someone.
Yeah.
And so
that's why you had to get into law. Most people don't know that, but it actually all started when you were representing yourself in a self-defense case of Accidental. I don't know what the charge would be. Accidental hairicide, maybe.
Yeah, hairicide. That's the easy one. I tried to grow my hair out.
Hey, jackass! Why don't you do a hard one then? Why don't you do a funny one since I did the easy one?
We've been through this.
Sorry for cussing.
I'm way better. Thank you. I'm way better at criticizing than I am doing, and I feel like that you don't even remember that. It kind of hurts my feelings at this point. It's like, come on, man, tighten it up, Brisco.
Obviously, the issue here is that you're just holding a hand mirror up to someone else who's better at criticizing than doing, and so we just criticize each other over and over until one of us does.
It's like when someone accidentally gets their computer screen in the camera when they're on the camera, and it's just this endless thing. I was going to say I did actually grow my hair out when I was about 19. I tried to like Abercrombie and Fitch it back when before. I think Abercrombie and Fitch is still a thing, but I think they've changed.
So.
I think they've changed their branding quite a bit from when I was that age. Like their branding is definitely better.
It almost can't be worse when you really dwell on it.
Yeah, it can't. It really can't be worse than what they did. So I don't. So
I think
tried
most
to
of
grow
my
it out.
self-esteem issues came from Hollister personally, but Abercrombie and Fitch was way more upfront with their questionable marketing.
Yeah, what commenter Dr. Ozzy says, Abercrombie, we are no longer dog whistling racists. That's a good brand shift.
I didn't even know that was one of their brand problems. I was just thinking about how overtly sexual it all was and thinking about their target audience at the time, which was
like,
me.
Hello, 14-year-olds.
Yeah.
Well, and then also like I had a few buddies who worked there. And like they were actively at the time they weren't told to be mean to people like that came in that weren't like, cool enough to be in there, but they weren't told not to be mean. I want to be careful here because we like have an audience here and I don't want to like get in it. But I mean, no, they were not the nicest people in the world. So I tried to do like the hair out thing. I think I was going through a breakup at the time or something, how you just kind of like, I'm going to show
that's what
you.
Burrow's doing too. I don't know anything.
Yeah, he's going through a bad breakup. Let's respect his privacy.
There's some sort of change going on right now for him.
And that's when I discovered that my hair doesn't lengthen, it thickens. And yeah, so that's pretty much it.
That does mean that like you could definitely bring it down a little bit on the sides and the back and then just have some voluminous stuff going on top. I do want to talk you into that, but
it's very helmety and it's not pleasant to look at, touch, anything. It really is basically unpleasant to all five senses. Like, I assume it tastes bad. I wouldn't know for sure, but that's an assumption I'm comfortable making.
My hair has been long enough to get it into my mouth a couple of times, but it's not right now, so I can't double check on that. Shout out to producer Nick Springer, who's pinch hitting for Tucker today here. Nick says he was an American Eagle guy when he was 16. I was American Eagle, wanted to be Hollister, never thought I could be Abercrombie and Fitch. That was my tier list.
That's that. There was the tier. Where did the Gap fit into all that? Was it like its own thing?
Yeah, it seemed more respectable than any of those other. The Gap didn't market its own horniness, which I feel like the other three I just mentioned did. It was like, come in here and smell all of the smells and ooh, look at this
American
little
Eagle.
top.
Yep. Hopping in with the American Eagle. No, there was just a lot going on there. That's actually the last time that I wore cologne until this last year when we were in Florence. Jazz had me buy some cologne.
Nice.
And so, yeah, which I felt like it was a backward step. But she also was like, no, I want you to buy cologne. I was like, so what I'm taking from that is I'm much less pleasant visually, and I've always been unpleasant in an auditory sense. So now she's like, could you at least be pleasant for one of my senses? If you at least smell good, that'll be fine.
Listen, if Nate was here, we'd be talking about Justin Reid, but he's not yet, so we'll get there shortly.
Yes.
I have like a cologne that I'll just spritz on if I'm just going to be like home by myself all day. Like nothing heavy, but just a little, I'm gonna be smelling me all day. Might as well enjoy the scent, you know.
That's fair.
I don't like this. I got a real cheap one that's, you know, $20 a bottle on Amazon that I buy every few months, and it's a nice little. It's a baseline, and then you got the fancy cologne. I don't have Got It in Florence cologne. That's another.
Sure.
I don't think you can wear that without a shirt with a collar. Like, I feel like that's got to be at a certain level, right?
It is.
Or is that your daily driver now? You walk in. Are you podcasting smelling like Florence right now?
I don't. Well, I don't wear it every day, because what you have to understand is I don't. You know, I work with a lot of women, and I want to at least give them a chance to try to resist me, and so. My thought is,
unfortunately, the delusion is set in, so we have no choice but to talk about training camp, I suppose.
You're welcome. You're welcome, listeners.
That really was the off ramp that we needed. I'm gonna go ahead and close this Abercrombie and Fitch tab I have open on the
before you end up on a watch list of some sort.
It all looks fine now. If I was on 2016 Abercrombie and Fitch or 2012 or 2008 or whatever, it would be a different story. But let's talk about a couple of the things we've seen or heard from training camp so far, Seth. We're going to talk about Justin Reid when Nate gets here, because we need more information on that. He was a surprise non-football injury list designation. He just showed up to camp. This is from our perspective, not the Chiefs' perspective. Justin Reid showed up to camp and came walking down the hill without his helmet. And it was like, out
of nowhere. Something
strange has happened with Justin Reid. We find out he was put on the non-football injury list. We'll get some reporting on that from Nate momentarily. One thing that we saw a little bit today that I think you and I can pretty much set up and knock down ourselves, Seth, without Nate being there, who's been watching all this happen with his own eyes. For the first 2 days of training camp, the first 2 full team days of camp, we saw Wanya Morris and Kingsley Suamataia alternating, not necessarily alternating every year, but sharing first team reps and kind of going back and forth that way in a way that made a lot of sense considering the competition. Today, Wanya Morris got all the first team reps. Kingsley got the second team reps. You also, presumably, I heard Lucas Niang getting some first team work at left guard with Joe Thuney still out, and some shuffling along there. You've already talked at some length, and we do it every year, on what you can and can't, should and shouldn't care about in training camp. Andy Reid talked about the O-line a lot today. A few of the things I thought were interesting, but probably the most important part of what Andy Reid said today was, well, you know, we don't put pads on until Friday. So right now, I wouldn't read too much into the offensive line rotation. What do you take from those first 3 full team days?
Sure. So, I mean, one thing in terms of the offensive line rotation, who's getting snaps with who, is that Andy Reid doesn't like to waste reps. So you're still, you can maybe read a little something into it.
This is another thing that Andy mentioned today. Andy Heck is doing a lot of these rotations, and he really made it. You can decide Andy Reid has 51%, but I think he might give 2% to Andy Heck for shuffling around offensive line rotations. And he said, again, especially before pads come on. So it's a Reid Heck combo here. What you just said about Reid not wasting reps is absolutely true. I think it's also true for Andy Heck. I just want to make that distinction.
Yep.
The A&Ds are working on that. Back to you, Seth.
Absolutely. And so he doesn't like to waste reps. However, these are non-padded reps. Anything you think about the offensive or defensive line right now, about players that you don't know anything about yet, you can't learn anything about them in non-padded reps. You cannot. It changes everything about the entire dynamic of pass blocking. And you're not even doing run blocking. That was one interesting thing. Reid made a comment about, we're not doing much run blocking yet. That's actually a place where I think Morris would have an edge over Suamataia because he's a powerful guy. He showed the ability to do it last year. Pass pro is where ideally Suamataia, that's right. Now that I've learned to pronounce his name, I can't stop.
Yeah, you're on fire. You're in fuego.
He's the one like that you'd think is where he could separate himself. So I didn't read. I know today it was interesting that they went from going back and forth to then shifting it to just Morris today. That is interesting. For me, the first day of pads, matters somewhat. What really matters to me is where the reps are going after about a week or two in pads, especially after that first preseason game, because now the coaches have decided who's who. So that's going to that'll tell me a lot more. In pads, like the reps start to matter more in terms of who's winning, who's losing, and all that kind of stuff. So I do think it's just kind of interesting that it's clearly hasn't been like handed over to Sudamata. We know that much. Creed Humphrey walked in the door and was taking first team reps. Trey Smith, now this was because of an injury that had occurred, because they had brought in someone else to start at right guard, but he got hurt, and it is what it is. Kyle Long. But after that,
like a million years ago.
Yeah, doesn't it? But Trey Smith walked in the door, got those first team reps, and never did anything else, basically. So you can read a little something into it, but it's even less than what you read into what you're seeing from the receivers and corners right now, even with regards to reps. Like, you can't read too much into it. You can read little nuggets. Like, it's just like, okay, we could take this and extrapolate a maybe, but that's about the best we can do.
You all just mentioned something I'm putting in our head for Thursday. We should talk about the corners more, but that's not on the docket today. And we're not alone for today, because Nate Taylor is, in fact, now back here with us. Nate, after spending these days in St. Joseph, Missouri, how's your spirit right now? How are you feeling?
You look great.
Knowing that it's begun and you have made it through Act 1, but you got a day off coming up on Thursday, and then you got to put those pads on Friday, and that's when the media tent really gets physical.
Exactly. And look, I'm not saying I'm going to win the one-on-one rep with Matt Derrick of
Especially not if Herbie's back, by the way. That doesn't help anybody's odds except for Herbie's.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Herbie's doing a nice little stint for the Associated Press.
I saw the Rose wristband.
You heard it here. Nate thinks Herbie's washed. Interesting.
We're just trying to limit his reps right now. We're just trying to ease him through camp. So he's got a couple off days. But no, it was great to see Herbie. It's dude. Amazing. He's a great guy. It's amazing to to know that he's still trying to figure out certain numbers and who those guys are in those numbers. Because he's not in the daily grind, as we like to say. But no, I feel pretty good. Having been through these camps before, it's like, okay, the weather has been really nice on us, although I do see it getting a lot more difficult the moment they put them pads on. So we got really,
Let's look at that. Hold on. Let's look at that. What is that, Friday?
Yeah, Friday.
91, baby.
Yeah. And next week, we have a 92, 96. Oh, I mean, these are brutal. I'm not sure if we're going to get in the hundreds this year, but it's possible.
That's so gross.
That 96, 98, 99, 100 next week. So
here's a perfect snapshot of July 23rd. So many days throughout June and July have been about the June and July of it all. We just got a super chat for $10, which benefits the KCSN Foundation. So when you spend money on super chats here, it goes to benefit good causes. The message from Rob is more needs to go. It is Rob. Thank you for putting that money toward a good cause, and thank you for doing it in the funniest way possible to me, which is that I don't need to see them put pads on at training camp. I need to see roster moves right now.
Wow.
And Rob, I also read Nate's tweets earlier today. Like I saw what happened when he was asked.
Like Sky Less.
Yeah, that was my joke from a while ago. So, I remember the clips day. There was some good work in there.
Yeah.
It is hilarious. And then also, since I've seen the super chats here, it's from Joseph as well. So T-minus 3 days till Tony's put on IR then. Hey, Joseph.
It's going to be 3 electric days, though. Like,
And he didn't make it to pads last year. We're already, this is like the Royals already being at last year's win total. It's like, hey, listen, Kadarius, it's all gravy from here.
Wasn't it day 1 last year?
It was day 0, really.
It was minute 1, Seth.
It was minute 0, day 1. Practice hadn't officially begun yet.
Right, just for context, ladies and gentlemen, they had not finished the warm up,
right?
When Kadarius Toney tweaked his Kadarius Toney tweaked his knee. Now this is in relation to, I don't know how much you guys have talked about the Justin Reid situation.
We have not. We did talk about my hair back in 2003.
Okay.
When you say it like that, Seth.
2003 reminds me of a time of Jose Lima.
Okay, this is on me.
Of Desi Relaford, of Carlos Beltran, and Rookie of the Year. I don't even want to say his name. What a season. They had the Rookie of the Year on their roster in 2003. But no, Andy Reid, I'm going to get the quote exactly right so that I can inform you, because last year, Andy Reid looked us in the eye and said, no, he just tweaked his knee. 4 days later, he had surgery. So with that in mind, when it comes to really the one surprise that we've gotten so far in training camp is, hey, why does Justin Reid not have a helmet? Why is Justin Reid not participating in these non-padded practices? Andy Reid, I believe this was on Sunday, said, quote, "We'll see how he does. He's very honest with you, and he's not going to hide anything. He's going to make sure he tells you how he's feeling, so we, as a staff, trust him, and then Rick will take care of the rest." Do you want me to say what I said on our text chain?
Hey, Nate, what's going on with Justin Reid?
He might miss all of training camp.
That's a longer time.
Sure is.
They didn't really hide it, which I found to be unusual.
Well, Spags didn't hide it.
Spags is the one who spat it out there, yes, because he said we might be without Justin for a little bit or something along those lines.
Yes, right. And what I was telling some other reporters in St. Joseph is usually he would just take a rep or two and then he'd come out, or they'd give him like a yellow jersey like they did Isaiah Pacheco last year, which is like, he's here, but he's not doing much of anything else. And we were told it's a quad, which isn't great. And he's just been, kind of helping guys, pointing, being an additional coach. We obviously know Justin Reid's a very good teammate. But they haven't hit this. Last year they told us Kadarius Toney tweaked his knee when his knee was in legitimate pain. So
someone just commented, I'm so sorry. Seamus Levin.
Yes.
Spags would have saved our hearts from Eric Berry's day-to-day stretch. That 1,000,000% would have never happened. Spags would have been up there, and I can't do a Spags accent, so I won't try. But he'd have been like, yeah, he just doesn't feel like he can do it. Like, he would have just said something like that, and like it would have saved us from the whole not being ready spiritually comment that kind of got taken a certain way. But he also said physically.
Hold on. How did it get taken a certain way? Because I was in the room when it happened. And
well, like the way he said it, but probably not the way he meant it.
It's just not in my spirit. And I said,
"Oh, didn't run that one by Ted first, huh?"
As well as these were like, you kind of like texting or hey, Eric Berry's talking to us after a game. Weird that he didn't play. Weird. I'm sorry. What the hell did you just say?
So that was Justin Reid's spirit, Nate, to your understanding. Let's just rule that out.
Nice.
No. Justin Reid will be fine. I've seen that there's some speculation that he might not be ready for the September 5th season opener against the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not willing to go that far. I don't think the team is willing to go that far. But if he misses the majority of training camp, like, it wouldn't shock me. Based on my understanding, based on his years of experience, this is not his first year in the system, of course. So they don't need to like rush him. Where last year, specifically, Kadarius Toney felt the need to try to come back as soon as possible to be ready for the season opener. We all know how that went. So that's like the educated, measured news I could probably give to our audience is they're going to be in pads on Friday. And will Justin Reid have a practice before the first preseason game? It's kind of up in the air right now.
I don't know the answer to this at all. And if there's any degrees to it, please feel free to opt out of however much you need to. Do you have any understanding at all of what the non-football injury was or how it occurred? Is there any murmuring on that you're able to share?
Ask it directly, Josh. Was he jumping up and down at a Taylor Swift concert and rolled his whatever thing is hurt? I don't remember.
Quad.
Quad. Yeah, this is relatively recent.
He rolled his quad.
This is all I was told is that this is relatively recent. Because of course he was obviously fully healthy for mandatory minicamp. That was basically a month before training camp started. I think he flew internationally, if I remember correctly. I think he was in France, maybe. I can't remember.
I think he did go back to Germany at some point this offseason, but that may have even been earlier than that. Yeah.
Right. So my understanding is this is a pretty recent injury. All it means when you say not football related is it didn't happen under the team's watch and conduction of practice,
which means that theoretically this could have, correct me if I'm wrong, this could have been him training on his own.
Yes.
Suffers an injury that if that is happening on his own, that is a quote non-football injury list, a non-football injury that could put you on the NFI list.
Right. And it's not something where you want to put him on the PUP list because that denotes it was football related, even though we all know that they're training for the season. It makes sense. But no, I was told that this was pretty recent, and I don't know how it occurred. The no one's been willing to share that detail, and I don't think that's been out there yet. But I did see that Justin put out a tweet that said, he looks forward to the season. He'll be back soon.
He also put out a tweet about Joe Burrow's haircut. He seems to be in good spirits.
Yeah. I also know that Kadarius Toney put out a very similar tweet last year, and he did make the season opener. Now, that was with knee surgery. I haven't heard surgery of any context with Justin Reid's quad. But, again, I'm not going to be surprised if he's out several weeks just because that's the right thing to do, even if it disrupts how you planned training camp to start with the safety rotation.
Seth, you willing to be an absolute contrarian optimist and tell me that's actually kind of a good thing because it means a lot more reps for? We'll talk more about the quarterback situation with Shamari Connor later and kind of where he might be, but it means more reps for Jaden Hicks. That seems pretty evident, and he needs them more than Deion Bush does. If you're kind of looking at the depth of the safety room.
Yes,
absolutely. I'm glad you asked. I'm going to go with I'm going to be the eternal optimist for the rest of this show. I'm glad you asked that. What a great question, Josh.
Thanks.
The reality is
Let's take a good break, actually, Nick. Can we take a quick break?
Right into that.
I wasn't even thinking about it.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy. No hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them on it. And turns out it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process was the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. To get started, go to mintmobile.com/KCSNOWG. There you'll see that right now, all 3-month plans are only $15 a month, including the unlimited plan. To get this new customer offer in your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSNOWG. That's mintmobile.com/KCSNOWG. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSNOWG. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
I'll say this too, Seth. The reason that you just walked right into it the way that you did is because I opened that door just genuinely trying to see if you wanted to make me feel better about the safety room. And then I thought like, oh, we actually need to wrap the show up in about 15 minutes and we haven't taken a break yet. So let's do it now. I am genuinely interested in your optimism, as I am for Matt Peterson with a super chat asking about what it means for us, the secondary. We got you, Matt. And Anonymous Mango also would like some Nico Remigio hype. Let's revisit that after pads come on, Mango, and I think we'll have plenty of time to do that. But back to the rest of the secondary then.
Real quick, Nico has done nothing wrong. You want a little mini update?
Yeah, sure.
It's like
for £4.99, which is what Anonymous Mango super chatted with. I feel like
that's like $6.
It's ladies and gentlemen, it's 3 training camp practices with no pads. Mm-hmm. With that being said, Kadarius Toney, Nico Remigio, Justin Ross, Sky Moore.
They're in a fight.
That was an order.
Yes, that was an order. Correct.
Yeah. And so
hey, sorry, really quick. Hey, Seth, actually, Matt says for $5, can you do a silly voice? So could you just give a little bit of your Shamari Connor analysis in a silly voice for us too? Matt gave $5 to the KCSN Foundation.
I'll use a voice that I use with my kids all the time. Is this for Shamari Connor?
Yeah. Or Jaden. I'm sorry, Jaden Hicks. Really in the safety room.
Oh, I don't know, guys. I'm not sure they're going to be able to play him. Looks like they're trying to move him in the slot. This might not go well. I'm a little scared because it seems like they want to use a guy who's not really a slot corner. He's a slot corner. I don't know, fellas. But maybe with the injury to Reid, they'll have to actually play him at safety where he was just fine last year. And I don't know why you do anything else, Spags, when you've got an elite nickel corner.
Thank you, laryngetic Marge Simpson. That was really insightful. I agree with that.
No,
we should talk more
Coach
about that.
Dooley got it right. It was Towley. Towley might, you know what? Unless this South Park in that phase, you were like 1, and given that your parents didn't probably let you watch Veggie Tales, they probably let you watch South Park.
No, did not. Falsetto Mahomes is very funny.
Yeah.
So,
but people are noting, Seth, you did clip there. You hit the Nate register where your mic was sort of shaving off the sharp ends. It was still a good listen. It just you hit that register.
I was trying so hard to not hit that too high registered, because what I do with the kids is I always bring it to like a freak out. So here's the deal with Reid out. That means that Hicks is going to get an opportunity to be more involved. They seem really intent on trying out Shamari Connor in the slot, which, considering I can't recall a single snap of him defending a wide receiver in man coverage from the slot last year, we might as well take the best nickel corner in the NFL and just move him to the boundary, even though you've got 2 other perfectly competent boundary corners there. You might as well do that, because why not? What I've often learned is when you've got something that works, what you do is you fiddle with it for a little bit. Then you fiddle with it a little more. It's like, oh, well, this is working real well, but what if I fiddled with it? Now, to be fair, Spags is going to Spags, and I felt like an idiot like 99% of the times when I've questioned Spags.
Well,
so my guess is Connor, their plan is for more of big nickel looks. I'm guessing it's not to cover receivers out of the slot, because that would be a little weird, unless the plan is to have him use the L'Jarius Sneed method and just beat the daylights out of them, which would be hilarious. But with Reid's injury, Connor played more traditional safety last year. That's by far the most of what he did last year. They tried to move him around a ton earlier, including that big slot role, but because of injuries, he had to slide into a traditional safety type thing. That's where he had most of his big plays. It's where he played the best. We like Brian Cook. My assumption would be that an injury to Reid, if it lasts a while, it kind of forces them to play Hicks in that traditional safety role if they want to keep practicing Connor in more of this big slot role. So that could be kind of interesting. The funny thing for me is Hicks, I'm like, I think he can be a 2-deep safety. I see more of like a hybrid safety / linebacker. Like, think of like an athletic Dan Sorensen. You know? Like Dan Sorensen in a certain role was solid. Think of like a more athletic version of that. I like it.
Are you saying Dan Sorensen wasn't athletic enough for you?
We've been talking about the idea of, quote, a more athletic Dan Sorensen since the moment Dan Sorensen was brought into the league. Like, that has been the
What
thing.
I'm saying is, imagine Dan Sorensen, but not,
missing tackles, losing guys in coverage.
If he was like more of a Cooper DeJean type.
Yeah,
thank you, Ross.
He a little more sensitive to sunlight.
Sneaky athletic. What if he was trick or treatish? Is
maybe
Jaden
a little
Hicks,
less? If he's
is Jaden Hicks gonna be trick or treat? Is he trick or treat? Is he gonna trick you into a treat?
I'm gonna take the advice of everyone on Twitter last week and not say something that gets me fired and take this joke just way too far. So I do think that's the benefit. If it's gonna be someone who's got to sit out for a while, having to be someone like Reid who knows the offense in and out. It gives them an opportunity to see what they have in Hicks, a player that they really like. And so I'm excited to see that.
Well,
hopefully he knows the defense too.
Yeah, hopefully he knows the defense. Now I'm gonna take something out. It's called a little handy dandy notebook here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank God.
I'm gonna flip
handy dandy is how I knew it was gonna be a notebook. I was nervous until then. Weirdly, the word handy actually made me feel better.
Yeah. Now, I'm just going to look here at my notes from yesterday's practice, obviously day 2. The beauty of this is that the offense made the defense on day 1 look like mannequins. I mean, you guys are just props, and we're dunking over them. Whereas the defense Monday said, all right, that was cool. Let's get back to business. There was clearly a blitz zone period where Spags got into his Spags bag, and look, man, I'm just saying, there was an interception, and who blitzed for Patrick Mahomes to be? It's probably the first rep in camp where it's like, ooh, they got him. Mm-hmm. And Seth, tell me who blitzed on that rep for Joshua Williams to get an easy interception because Sky Moore stopped running.
Wow. I mean, my guess is it was probably Shamari Connor.
Thank you. Ding, ding, ding. It was Shamari Connor coming on one of those L'Jarius Sneed-like blitzes. I'm not saying he's Trent McDuffie yet, because Trent McDuffie, I think, times the blitz somehow even better than L'Jarius Sneed, but it was clearly a blitz where they got him. Pat had to throw off his back foot. And Sky Moore didn't compete for the football. And Joshua Williams had one of the easiest interceptions you can see in camp. So much so that when the Chiefs released the video of this said interception, you can't see Sky Moore. So look, one guy's good rep is a guy's bad rep. This is how this works.
Yeah, that's training camp, Hey, Rice caught a deep ball. Oh, McDuffie lost in coverage over the top. Hey, can I ask you a question about training camp today that I know we do not have much time left, at least with me here. I know, but you guys are. Was Mahomes just throwing bombs today? Because every single clip I've seen has been Mahomes hitting.
I mean, just as I said earlier, precise, exquisite, brilliant. Just what do you do? I think that's one of the fun things about watching Jaden Hicks is how much his head is spinning because every ball's accurate. I have no shot.
Going from college quarterbacks
college to this is crazy. So it's awesome today that I think Jaden Hicks played a little bit better today than the first 2 days, which is fine. You sort of expect that as a rookie. But yeah, Trent McDuffie's like, there's no way. I'm in the hip pocket. I'm in the picture. Wow.
And so here's that throw was incredible.
Incredible.
Also, shout out to Rashee Rice for keeping his hands quiet until the last moment, because when a defender's in your hip pocket like that, they're playing your hands. They don't know when the ball's coming.
Right.
Run. Not like this. Don't run like this, because then they're going to start playing your hands. They know the ball's coming, so they just kind of reach out blindly. But he kept his hands quiet, and then he made sure to free with just a littlest push off, just a teeny tiny push off, and got that little bit of separation at the end. That's nice to see. And McDuff, I mean, he was there. It just, that happens with a perfect throw.
Right.
Great offense in today's NFL beats great defense, especially in terms of a throw catch.
Especially with no pads. And you have to understand too, even without Justin Reid, because of the acquisition of Xavier Worthy, at least in day one, Marquise Brown, who's been as good of a veteran receiver as you could have for the first week, where he's not tweeting like Juju Smith-Schuster, where he's like, I've thrown up twice. Why am I here? Why did I choose to be here? He's been fine. Now, granted, it hasn't been hot yet. And then with the development of Rashee Rice in the year two, the secondary is getting tested in a way that they really weren't getting tested last year, especially with Mahomes trying to get more deep passes, at least through the team periods and the 7-on-7s. The last couple of years have been about sort of timing and accuracy, and obviously getting ready for the zone looks that they were going to see throughout much of the season. But this year, the secondary is getting pushed on a lot of deep passes, and so far I would say the offense has been more successful, and that's even with Brian Cook and Trick McDuffie again doing what they're supposed to do. It's just he's too good.
He's throwing bombs.
He's too good.
The great thing about that is that we know Mahomes utilizes training camp to see what he can get away with.
Yes.
And so he's always working on something. And that's why he threw so many picks the first year. It's like, okay, I'm a pro now. What can I get away with in camp? What can I, where can I push those limits? And then, the season started and he threw almost no picks. So it's an interesting thing to see that with Worthy and with Brown especially. That's awesome to hear. So I appreciate you indulging me that.
Yeah.
Nick, I hate to throw you another curveball. We're just nothing but breaking balls for you all day today, but I know Seth needs to head out, and Nate and I have a few more minutes. We could at least talk about two of the receivers who made it into our rundown here. Seth, you can depart in whatever way you wish. Nate and I will power through a little longer here, and then we'll just make Nick figure out how to fix the layout. Sorry, Nick. Thanks, Seth.
I appreciate it. I'm gonna duck out on this note, because you guys are, I'm assuming, probably going to talk about Worthy since he's on the rundown, although that's no guarantee of anything.
Certainly hasn't dictated our first 42 minutes.
So, the thing with Worthy, the thing with this deep ball, it's one. And by the way, I saw your quote tweet of the one deep ball to Worthy on the first day of practice. Where you pointed out correctly, because you know ball, my friend.
That's right.
If you watch the
Cheating
play,
off these notes,
you see that Worthy is heading straight down the numbers until he looks back to locate the ball. That's when he drifts inside. He ran underneath it. Now, maybe the play call was for him to go to the post. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But I do know he made the throw look perfect when it really wasn't on the trajectory he was on. That's how you make a guy look more accurate down the field. Tyler Lockett, like Russ Wilson is a great deep ball thrower. Tyler Lockett made him look like an unbelievable one. So many times they're running underneath it. So that was interesting to see. Hopefully he gets better from strep throat. The other thing is, I actually just reposted recently. I wrote about what it means to bring the deep ball back to Kansas City, even the threat of it. The benefits they will reap from just hitting one or two of those in week one. Just one. Just one. Well, they just need to hit one in week one to Brown or Worthy, or one to each, and the entire NFL is going to grumble to themselves and take a few steps back. And so with that, I will take a few steps back and go lead games at VBS. So if you guys could keep me in your thoughts, I'd really appreciate it.
He didn't even ask for prayers. He knows God's not intervening any more than he already has to on VBS. He's like, you people can take it from there.
Yeah, he's like, even I can't help you now.
See you, Seth. He was right in teasing what we were going to talk about a little more with Xavier Worthy. Let's dig into that now, as the world has seen, filmed by the one and only Tucker D. Franklin. The D stands for definitely got the shot, and across the KCSN socials, Tucker gets the footage. You were there in person. The crowd erupts. Xavier Worthy hauls that pass in, as Seth broke down there, tracks the ball, which is the thing that this offense could really use after the way deep balls went last year. But then Xavier Worthy misses the next two practices, yesterday and today, with strep throat. I don't know if that's reportedly, because I don't think the team has said strep throat, but illness, strep throat, et cetera, et cetera. Anything so far? I've got two little things on Xavier Worthy. Where are you at right now with his very strange start to camp? Lighting it on fire in day 1, being absent for at least day 2 and 3. At this point, I'd imagine he doesn't practice tomorrow, and they're off on Thursday.
Yes, because it would give him more time to recover.
Yeah.
For the event of running in pads. Look, we were kind of told, in the first, part of camp before the veterans got there, that look, he's not 100%. His hamstring is like, we're just trying to build him up. And then, oh my God, what a throw. I mean, and he went and he got it. Not only did he track it, he found another gear to create even more separation from Brian Cook, who again was hauling tail. And he's just like, oh, we didn't have that last year. It's just one of those reminders. I think he's caught the ball well, in that first stage of real work. It was great to see that Patrick just targeted him over and over and over and over again on the first day. It's a little disappointing that he's missed the last 2 days because of illness, but that's understandable. You'll get an update on really how he does in pads, because so much of that'll be about releases and how does he do with catching the ball through contact. So that'll be sort of the next test. But otherwise, I just think Patrick has to feel so much happier. Like as I wrote on Sunday, like he's got to be rejoicing at the idea that he can put it up, and it's got a higher success rate already than it did a year ago.
Yeah, the pro and con I'll give is to accentuate what Seth said, which is what I tweeted about, which is that I don't know, like Mahomes may have put the ball on that angle. Hey, Hayden, I also saw Maple in the background. Nate's got a full office because Nate's gone all the time now. His family's checking in to see him because he lives in St. Joe now. I don't know if I imagine Mahomes put the ball where he wanted to,
right? And
Worthy went to go get it, regardless of if that was on the sheet or not. Not really lines on a page, etc. We've been over that many times.
Yes.
But man, that's encouraging. The slight negative is that I'll just be consistent as I was throughout the rest of the offseason activities. Not having your rookie wide receiver out there for real reps at learning every wide receiver position, that matters. It's not the end of the world. It may not even matter a lot, but it matters. If you think reps on the first and second, or the second and third day of practice matter, which you've been talking about already, then you think it matters that Worthy didn't participate. And that's something.
I think it matters.
Matters at least a little.
And hey, by the way, just don't, if it is strep throat, don't give anybody else strep throat. So like it matters. But ultimately, you just want to see. I think we saw enough Sunday to understand. Yeah, that's why you took him in the first round.
Yep.
And now it's just okay. Let me see it in the pads, and then after that, it's like, well, let me see it under the lights in the preseason. And then obviously we gear up to week 1. So I know he's done well, and it was a bit of a bummer that he wasn't there yesterday. I pretty much understood he wasn't going to be there today, which is fine. But that has given more opportunities for Marquise Brown to look really good, for Nico Remigio to get some limited first team reps. The one mistake he made today was, did he just get open under Trent McDuffie and the ball's out? Wow, that guy's good. Isn't he good? He's so good. It's like, did he just get open against Trent McDuffie and the ball's out? That's disappointing. yeah, I was gonna write that down, but not now. So like,
struck from the record.
yeah, and again, I think Tucker or whoever was Tucker out there today? Was it
Yeah.
Tucker?
Yeah.
Tucker got that footage, and I was like, because hey, he caught a little crosser route. He got open. Ask me if Sky Moore's done that yet.
I'm actually going to spare him the embarrassment. I'm going to spare our listeners the time. I think you probably figured out if Sky Moore's done that or not.
There are differences so far through 3 practices. Now, if things change with the pads, I will obviously notate that here. But even for Kadarius Toney,
let's talk about him.
Yeah. Even for Kadarius Toney, he got a little bit more opportunities today because Xavier Worthy obviously was out.
So I want to say what's not happening, and then you can say what is happening, Nate, okay?
Okay.
Kadarius Toney is not in the middle of a position change. Kadarius Toney is not... Don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that. Nate, what percentage of the time has Kadarius Toney been with wide receivers, and what percentage of the time has he been with running back so far through training camp?
It's about 70-30.
70% receivers?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I think the 30% is more interesting than the 70. I'm just saying, maybe we don't need to be like, ooh, Kadarius Toney. It's like he's not switching numbers in college right now. It's but I digress. Running backs can wear 19 now, and receivers can wear 24. So, what is actually happening with Kadarius Toney? We saw him get some work in some running back drills. He got some carries last season in pretty running backy roles, not just jet sweep stuff, but like actually, I think some shotgun handoffs, if memory serves.
Yep.
I don't think there's ever an I formation or anything. It'd be a little weird in this offense.
Some shotgun counters and some shotgun traps.
Yeah, and like that's most of my CFB 25 playbook right now is trying to get the guy with the speed, some little, just maybe even a little draw here or there. But what have you seen from Kadarius Toney? Because I've also seen you tweet that he was out there with the 1s, and then he was out there with the 3s. He was out there with Mahomes. He was out there with Chris Oladokin. What's real on the Kadarius Toney front?
What's real is that I've seen him with my own eyes the past 3 days.
Hell yeah.
And God, it feels good. He's so talented.
Talented.
I think it's understandable for people to say Andy really can't quit him. And I'm like, no, he can't.
Neither can I. And I'm not invested. I don't coach the team.
Why would you? He's on a rookie contract, and can I read for you a sentence that I have submitted to theathletic.com that I don't even know if it's on the website yet, but I just want to read you this sentence, and I hope people understand where I'm coming from, because it's not really fair to the player that I'm saying. But it was a 7-on-7 rep today on Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. Kadarius Toney, operating in the middle of the field. That kind of tells you where he lines up. I'm not supposed to tell. Well, the cameras, if fans are here, he lined up in the slot. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. God. State secret. I'm gonna you finish this bit. I'll come back for I'll pick up the pieces on that in a second.
So he's working in the slot. He's working in the slot. And let me see if I feel so okay. Here's the sentence. He caught a short pass. Already off to a great start.
He was on the field. He caught a short pass, 2 for 2.
Yeah. Yes, in a 7-on-7 period, he caught a short pass in the middle of the field in Tuesday's 7-on-7 period and juked backup linebacker Cole Christensen in a rather embarrassing fashion twice.
Woo!
On the same rep.
Right stick circle.
Guys, I can't quit this man.
How could
I can't. I mean, obviously, an NFL team can't, but I can't. I mean, I think I looked to Matt Derrick and I grabbed his shoulder and I said, I don't need to see him on the field with Cole Christensen ever again this camp.
This one-on-one matchup is teaching me nothing from this point forward.
And that's no disrespect to Cole Christensen, obviously an NFL player. I don't need to see that no more. Don't put Cole Christensen in his own coverage against I'm running from the slot Kadarius Toney. Don't need to see it again. But that's kind of the point of like why you want to get the ball in space. Whether it's a running back, whether it's a speed option, whether it's an end around, jet sweep, screen game. I mean, there's just so many options. Why would you quit this man? So yeah, that's where we are. He's
He's
healthy.
what training camp darlings are made out of. If it wasn't for the baggage, he would be on a hype train 10 times the horsepower of Nico Remigio's, honestly.
Right. And again, I haven't told you the little anecdote about Nico Remigio did something and then Kadarius Toney did it, and I said, I'm sorry, what? So look, he's done everything that's been asked of him. It's actually impressive that he's been willing to do this. We haven't gotten a chance to talk to him at training camp because we're only 3 days in. And I'm gonna keep that thought to myself. So look.
Maybe, hey, you know what? Maybe we'll hear from him next time, the same time we heard from him most recently, which was at Super Bowl Media Night.
For a minute, I thought you were going to say Instagram Live.
On Instagram Live.
Oh, no, don't do that.
That's before Media Night, so chronologically speaking.
Look, guys, do you want me to, you know what? Let's have a little read time. Do you want me to read the next paragraph?
I do.
Let me read. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read one more paragraph from this silly story, okay? Because this is such a good training camp story. Not
yet out. This is the advanced copy we're all getting right now.
Right.
Re-release.
Because again, like at some point it's like, well, okay, hey, they gave Lucas Niang first team right guard or left guard snaps. That's a 1-day thing.
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, cool. I'll mark it down. 2 days, we might have something, but you've done it every day of camp so far. I mean, we gotta write it. It's a perfect camp story involving Kadarius Toney. Are you ready?
I can't wait.
This is a paragraph that I wrote. Toney wasn't on the Chiefs injury report ahead of the Super Bowl. He was a full participant when the team was in Las Vegas. He was a full participant in June during the Chiefs mandatory minicamp, and he has been a full participant in 3 practices this week.
Why would you quit him?
How could I quit this man?
Hang the banner.
I mean, so he's done pretty well. No drops. Had a couple issues with his routes, but when they pitch him the ball to the outside, I can see why you want to put him at running back, because I've also seen the other running backs.
Just wrote down on my little notepad here that we'll talk about RB3 more on Thursday and how Toney plays into that. Again, Thursday, there's only going to be one more practice between now and that show, and pads don't come on until Friday. But we will we'll talk about what we've seen so far. Heard some interesting things too. Spags had some stuff on the corners. We'll dig more into that too.
Hey, Kenny, I know you're asking about the volunteer ones. I didn't see him, but keyword there is voluntary. Anything that has been mandatory, he's been fully healthy since February.
And on that vote of confidence, we'll be back on Thursday to talk about whatever Nate sees tomorrow and a few of the other things I've already mentioned. Nate, I know you've already done a lot of heavy lifting today, but it's still your job to get us out of here.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 things. A, if you come to St. Joseph, God bless you. And also say hi. A few people have already done that, which has been really nice. Brent, Clint, and Susan. It's been great. And then the other thing, there was a really nice moment today. Would you like to hear about it, Josh?
Yeah.
I'm gonna paint a picture.
All right, paint.
And I'm gonna paint just for this audience. Ladies and gentlemen, it was day 3 at Chiefs camp. The pads weren't on yet. It wasn't even really that hot. But coach said, hey, we're gonna go hour and 55 today. It's gonna be a legitimate one, and the guys were doing well. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw a lovely family say, hey, we're here. We made it. We made it, baby. We made it to St. Joseph, Missouri. We've made it to Missouri Western state to see my husband and your father. There he is, kids. Wave to him. Wave to him from on high, up in the hills under the family and wax tent. Wave to him. Wave to him, because he's waving to you. And I saw this grown man, who's one of the best at his job, do this for 2 minutes. 2 minutes straight.
Windshield wiper waving is what Nate is currently miming.
Can my kids see me? Do my kids see me? My wife sees me. She's pointing to me. I'm waving at her. She's waving at me. Guys, it's one of the most memorable moments of camp in 2024. And eventually the kids saw and they waved and they cheered. And it was a beautiful moment between Harrison Bucker and his family. And you know what, kids? That's what training camp's really all about. Because his wife got out of the house and they waved to him while he was at work. And it was truly wholesome. And then he made a 59-yarder. And the kids were like, yeah, that's my dad. And I was like, you know what? That is your dad. Your dad is killing it out there. Because you know why? Because he's the best kicker in the National Football League. Now wave to him again.
And then don't Google him.
It was just a great moment. It was just a great wholesome moment between family man and family.
To be honest, man, I was way more worried it was going to be Drew Tranquil's family.
Really? Wow.
Just for you. Just because of you. That's
Greg,
the show. Bye, everybody.
She was not waving a sandwich. She was waving love to her man. And her man was